Hello, good evening. Thanks everybody for joining us. I am Jay Melder. I am the city manager of the city of Savannah. I'm joined with Ron Feldner, who is our chief of water resources. So let me just get through a few bits of information, and then, as Joshua said, we'll open up to some Q&A. Earlier this evening, there was a boil water advisory issued for customers of the Savannah I&D water system. We issued a boil water advisory for specific water customers in the Savannah city limits, areas of unincorporated Chatham County, areas of Effingham County, the city of Pooler, the city of Port Wentworth, the city of Bloomingdale, the town of Thunderbolt, the village of Vernonburg, and areas of Garden City along Prosperity Drive. All of these areas are affected and are under the boil water advisory. Water customers on Whitmarsh Island, Wilmington Island, Dutch Island, Skidaway Island, Tybee Island, and customers along Little Neck Road and Highway 204 west of I-95 are not effective. And hopefully all of the outlets received a map of the impacted areas. City crews are currently testing water samples. They will be throughout the night and coordinating with the Georgia Environmental Protection Division. As a precaution, customers in the affected areas teeth and preparing baby formula until the advisory is lifted. Water should be brought to a rolling boil for at least 1 minute before use. The issue today began sometime mid-afternoon, where operators and technicians at the city's industrial and domestic surface water treatment plant started to see increased levels of turbidity, which is cloudiness in the water. We were able to continue to monitor and test, continue to change some operations. However, the turbidity levels continued to rise. We then notified the Environmental Protection Division, and after further testing and confirmation of the system, we're able to issue a boil water advisory due to those high levels of turbidity. I want to just give a note a little bit on turbidity. Turbidity is a word that means cloudiness in the water. Turbidity itself has no health effects. However, turbidity can interfere with disinfection in the water treatment process and provide a medium for microbial growth. Turbidity may indicate the presence of bacteria, viruses, and parasites, which can cause symptoms such as nausea, cramps, diarrhea, and associated headaches. So these are the impacts that we are asking our customers to avoid by boiling their water until the boil water advisory is lifted. Unfortunately, boil water advisories are sometimes part of the life of a water system. They're fairly rare for the city of Savannah, and we understand it's an enormous inconvenience and can be concerning for some who see these advisories. But hopefully, thankfully, we're getting the information out, and we appreciate everyone joining us tonight and carrying this advisory on your channels. And Joshua, I think Ron and I are happy to take any questions that anybody has.
Thank you, sir. I did not see any hands raised, but Greg Coy, I assume you're going to want to start, and then Evan Lassiter.
Gentlemen, did this have anything to do with a failure in the system, a failure of the application of chemicals to clean the water? Did this have anything to do with the amount of rain that we got in the last couple of days?
There was an interruption in a chemical used to knock down turbidity in the water. That was the issue that we discovered. That issue has now been fixed. The water plant right now is running at normal operations. So that was the issue. It has nothing to do with rainwater.
And the issue, so again, you're saying it was an interruption in the chemicals used to purify the water. What caused that interruption, sir?
There was interruption in the feed, to the best of our knowledge right now, an issue with a pipe that feeds that chemical into the treatment process at the front end.
And that has been fixed now. And you know what caused the interruption? Was a part broken? Was it application human error?
We're still looking into the exact cause, but the issue has been fixed.
Evening,
Evan
gentlemen.
Lassiter.
Yeah, thanks for your time. I'm wondering if you can break down a more specific timeline of when you found the issue, when you notified EPD, when EPD sent their levels back to when you knew you needed to issue the advisory.
Sure. Ron, you want to walk through a little bit of our timeline?
Yes, Evan, thanks for the question. We had apparently started to see some elevated turbidity levels within the internal monitoring of the water treatment plant around 2 or 3 o'clock today. I received a phone call from staff around 4:15 advising me that those turbidity levels had caught their attention relative to the internal monitoring process. As they collected more data over about the next 45 minutes to an hour, they got back in touch with me to let me know that those levels had risen such that we needed to contact the Environmental Protection Division, which we did about 6 o'clock, to advise them as to what those levels had peaked out at and relative to the regulatory limit that's allowed. And once we spoke to them and consulted with them, the decision was made that the levels that we saw inside the treatment process relative to the regulatory standard necessitated a boil water advisory, which we then convened the internal press staff and technical staff to draft up the boil water advisory. And that hit emails and dissemination at whatever time you all in the media saw it.
I think that the advisory went out at 8:09, and I think it's important to understand too, Evan, that this plant produces about 45 to 50 million gallons of water a day. It's a lot of water. It takes a long time for that water to reach customers from the I&D plant. We feel comfortable at this time that all of our detection systems, we have no indication that they weren't working properly, no indication that our timelines with discussion with EPD or anything to be concerned about. And after the consultation with EPD, which is necessary, we put out that advisory as soon as possible.
Two quick follow-ups. One, do you know how much higher the turbidity levels were compared to what the regulations are? And also, do you have maybe a percentage of how much of the city's customers are impacted by this?
Well, we know one of the readings that we communicated to the Georgia EPD staff at 6 o'clock on the call was a reading of 1.67 units, turbidity units. It has a specific reference to NTUs, but we'll just say turbidity units. And the threshold regulatory is 1.0. So we were at 1.67, and 1.0 is the trigger for a boil water advisory if your finished water post-production goes out into the system above 1.0, which it did in this case.
And are y'all able to give an estimate of maybe what percentage of customers are impacted by this?
Well, I can't tell you exactly what percentage, but perhaps as high as 75% of the system might have seen some amount of this higher turbidity water. But a couple things. Number one, we were able to shut down some of the delivery systems coming out of the facility into some areas where it connects into the main system, and instead converted that supply to the groundwater wells, which of course are all over our system. So we tried to isolate that highly turbid water or elevated turbidity water where we could, and then try to backfeed with groundwater in a lot of the areas where groundwater is able to be supplied.
I think what's also kind of important around that question, Evan, is we're what's called a blended
Okay,
system.
so I can stop.
you know,
Let me see if I can
Um,
send output.
we produce both surface water and groundwater in our system.
Okay, I guess we'll just.
This issue is specific to our surface water treatment production at our IND plant. So most of our system that's covered 100% by groundwater. There's no impact, and that's kind of the non-impacted areas that we read out and as part of our advisory. But you know, a vast majority of our system is supplied through surface water because, as we all know, the Floridian aquifer is being more and more regulated. It means we can pull less and less groundwater out of the ground. So our reliance on surface water is increasing.
And Evan, some of the areas are 100% reliant on surface water, and that would be the areas northwest of the city and due north of the city. So those areas are exclusively on surface water, and that supply was continued to be pushed out of the plant, and we could not convert to groundwater for those customers, both inside the city limits and outside, including the small municipalities in Effingham.
Thank you, Evan. Ms. Quayle, SAV.
Yes, hi. Just quick follow-up question. How long can this be expected to last for?
We anticipate, so our testing takes about 24 hours to mature. So we expect that within 24 hours, we'll have news on the boil water advisory. Right now, our indications are that, you know, our plant and our water production right now is looking good and looking fine, and we're back to normal levels. It was that water that was produced earlier today that has the issue. So we're that boil water advisory is really about, you know, how long does that water going to be in the system and when we can inject some new water into that. So the testing that we're doing right now is going to be able to confirm when it's safe to lift the boil water advisory, and we'll know much more about that within 24 hours.
Don't see any other hands. Do we have any other questions this evening? Oh, there's one. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks for being on call. I was wondering, so it seems like there has been a delay
Can you
since.
introduce yourself, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Sorry, I thought I heard something. There's a delay in the time of notification and when you heard that there was increased turbidity and when that water actually gets pushed out into the system. Is there an estimated time when that water was getting delivered, the water with high turbidity was getting delivered to homes, businesses, et cetera?
Yeah. So Jillian, again, that goes back to the question we answered earlier. The plant produces 45 to 50 million gallons a day. And it isn't instantaneous when the water is produced to when it's provided to your tap at home or to your business. And so there's some lead time in there where we're able to confirm the testing, consult with our regulators at the state, which is the Environmental Protection Division, and issue that boil water advisory. So we know that the issues, the water that was produced that had the higher level of turbidity, started to occur, between 2 and 4 p.m. today, roughly, and we were able to confirm that and consult with EPD around 6 p.m. today. Once we saw those turbidity levels reach levels that were higher than what our regulated limit were, and then that advisory came out at 8:09. So we've got places in our system that can see that water reach their taps within a few hours, and other places in our system where it takes 12 to 20 hours for water that's produced at I&D to reach that tap. That doesn't necessarily mean that all of that water has to leave the system. We're testing all around our system, and as soon as we and EPD see those test results come back, and EPD is satisfied with the levels of testing in the water, we'll lift the boil advisory. Fortunately or unfortunately, boil water advisories are something that happen in water systems. We see them happen in other water systems around the area. They happen sporadically with the city of Savannah, especially some isolated boil water advisories. We have those protections in place. We have those monitorings in place to be able to understand when the level of all different types of measurement in the water is not where we want it to be, and then provide some protection to our customers when that's the case.
Evan, did you have a follow-up as well?
Yes. So y'all said that the turbidity itself does not pose a health risk, but it can impact the, cleaning process, if you will. Did any of your other measurements kind of ting off that there may be a health risks related to the water not getting cleaned? Do residents who are drinking water tonight, out at the restaurants or the bars have any reason to be worried?
The restaurants get the notice, and ideally they are not serving water from the tap tonight. They would be using bottled water. But what we're doing to evaluate the safety of the water, so to speak, is we are checking chlorine levels throughout the system. And as long as those chlorine levels remain at the appropriate level, then even if there is a slightly elevated turbidity in the water, the chlorine disinfection remains intact. And that's the key thing we're doing tonight, is evaluating the chlorine levels. And right now, chlorine levels seem to be sustaining themselves throughout the system as we run the test. But once again, bottled water tonight at the restaurant ideally is what is the practice that's being used.
Christine Quayle, you have one follow-up?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know we all have to go for our 11 p.m. shows. But just quick question. Are people on well water going to be affected as well?
No, the well water is their own well water. This is only for City of Savannah water customers, and only certain areas of that, our customer base. Again, I just want to reiterate that we understand this is an inconvenience. We understand that it can be concerning. We appreciate everybody getting our message out tonight, and we'll be pushing out more information as soon as we get it, and keeping folks informed throughout the night, the morning, and tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be out of this situation very quickly. I do want to, we've been a lot of interest, obviously, in the boil water advisory. Our website is a bit overloaded right now, so we really appreciate everybody carrying this message out there. We're in touch with our web server providers and working on some additional capacity there. But we can't thank you all enough for carrying this story for us. Thank you.
City Manager Greg Coy, one last question before you go. Best case scenario, when do you think the boil water advisory will be lifted?
I'm thinking, it's again 24 hours for those tests to mature. We're looking at 5 or 6 p.m. tomorrow before those tests come back.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. We're going to go ahead. I'll send the recording of this out. Our link, once our website is back up and running, will be savannahga.gov/water advisory, and we'll have all the information posted there. Be on the lookout for more from us. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.